Well, there's not as many Indian food trucks, which is a shame because I love Indian food.
It's crazy though, because I see so many. I know Sandringham is full, is the hub, and there's more places that are the hub of Indian food, but there's so many food trucks, and I think maybe they don't know about you.
Very calm and collected conversation with Maggie Gray, who is a co-founder of the Food Truck Collective. She was in the New Zealand's top 50 most influential and inspiring women in food and beverage 2024, which was held by Cuisine Magazine. Have you ever thought of starting a food business or maybe a food truck? Or have you wanted to gain the freedom to manage your time as you please? If so, this one's for you. From starting a food truck to running an events business that helped other event organizers and food trucks, to now launching a course for people who are starting a food truck. She has done it all. We hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did.
So,
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Amazing, couldn't be better.
Good.
So thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
It's amazing. And I'm going to start off by saying you were in top 50 women. What was the title? What was the whole...
I think it was top 50 inspirational women in New Zealand in the food and drink category, awarded by Cuisine Magazine.
Cool.
Which was very cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
And do they do it often? Is it
I think it's the first year they've done the top 50. They highlighted a few incredible women last year at a lovely lunch that we went to. But Kelly Brett, the editor behind Cuisine Magazine, is really passionate about showcasing women in the food and drink industry. And yeah, someone nominated me, which was
congratulations.
Very cool. Thank you.
That is so cool.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to say that. So Maggie, I'm going to start off by asking you, what do you do? Like, I know you do a food truck, I know you do other things. I'm going to start by asking, what do you do? What other different things do you do?
What do I do? Okay, so I did have a food truck. I now have co-founded a food truck events business with a very good friend of mine.
Do you still run the food truck?
No.
No.
So it was an amazing stepping stone into what I now do. And so with the Food Truck Collective, we run and host food truck events, markets, festivals. We can help other event companies to find food trucks for their events because food trucks are so cool. Biased, obviously. And I also have started a food truck coaching business on the side because there's I feel a lack of educational information for those thinking of starting out, which is beautiful while I'm here today, to kind of the importance of sharing the ins and outs and challenges that involve starting any business, but my niche is more obviously food truck focused.
Right. So what is the course about and what would you cover in it?
So the course pretty much covers all the things that I myself have learned with running a food truck, things that I have seen from being a food truck event organizer, things that stand out, things that make it memorable, which I feel can be kind of compiled into sort of online learning of marketing, branding, finance, operations, HR, kind of all just compacted into everything that I've learned that I feel would help somebody starting out. Because when I started out, I had a chat with my friend Tim, and he was like, "It's really hard." And I'm like, "Yeah, it'll be fine."
It is really hard.
Yeah.
Can I say, I used to be a chef, so a few times I've thought about starting a food truck. It is not that easy.
No.
It looks very easy, but it isn't. So in brief, smallest way possible, I know there's a lot of things, but by step, how do you really start? What other things, key things that you need to start a food truck?
So the key thing is obviously finding the gap in the market, something that you see that isn't being served that you feel there is a demand for, and something that you could put your own spin on to make it kind of really stand out from kind of the rest of kind of the food truck scene. Like we started running the Food Truck Collective about 7 or 8 years ago when we worked with 15 food trucks, and now we work with almost 100. And so we see a huge variety of...
Did you say 15 or 50?
15.
15.
And now we're almost at 100.
Wow.
Pretty much 100. And we're having to turn people away because we don't want to over kind of commit to serving this community, and we can't. So we've kind of capped it for now because we're just a small team. It's Tim, myself, and we have another employee and a part-timer, so it's not a big organisation that's kind of managing all of this community. But I think, finding your niche is really important, and doing your homework, making sure that it's you've kind of crunched your numbers, because there's a lot of upfront costs. It's a lot cheaper than opening a restaurant because you're having to fit out an entire site, sign a 5-year lease. Like a food truck is that flexibility that you have with a food truck you don't get with many other, obviously, hospitality businesses. But really kind of taking the time to think it through and share the idea with people around you to see whether they think as well that there's kind of a need and whether they would go to it.
So you've got the niche.
Yeah, so niche, homework, and kind of testing your idea on people around you, in a nutshell.
Great. Okay. So these are 3 things you need initially.
Yes.
Before you actually
just to validate the idea.
Just to validate the idea.
Because we've all had great ideas of stuff, and the reality of it, actually, you think back and like, no, that probably wouldn't have worked, but you need to just really think through the idea.
Just so you're not living in a bubble and you are actually going out, testing, trying the idea before you put a lot of money and effort into it.
Yeah, and just the expenses, it adds up very quickly. And the economy that we're in at the minute, nothing is cheap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, true. So after you've got the idea, what do you do next? Like, can you hire food trucks, or do you have to buy a food truck?
You probably want to buy. You don't necessarily even have to start with a food truck. There's a lot of food businesses that I've worked with have started with a gazebo, which has got a lot less upfront costs, because trucks can set you back anything between 20 to 60, 80, depends on kind of the size, the fit out, what equipment that you need. There's a lot of investment into it. Buying a generator, not all events have power, and that's an additional cost, which also sometimes surprises people.
Where do you really start? Say you've got a gazebo, right? You've got the idea, you've got the gazebo, you will probably end up getting the ingredients from companies. Do you have to register your business, or can I just be like, oh, I just want to try out, I just want to go to the farmer's market and just have 1 or 2? It
depends on what you're selling, obviously, but it's really worth checking the compliance that you need around kind of licensing and trading to make sure that you're not just being safe for yourself, but safe with your food for other people who are eating it. So making sure that it's a sanitary area, that it's being kind of made and
you have to register as a business?
Not necessarily. Like, it depends what you want to do, what companies offer. It depends if you're just trialing it.
Right.
You can kind of wait until you've kind of validated your idea as such. But if you're going to buy all of those things, I imagine you'll probably be going down that route to register it, bank account.
Then comes the taxing part.
Exactly.
And then comes the GST part, and you would only pay GST if you're earning more than, is it 60?
So that's 60, 65, isn't it?
60, 65K.
Right. So you don't have to register for GST straight away. Not a lot of them do, because...
But you have to register for, like, paying a tax. You have to register it as a business to pay taxes. Coming to the food collective.
Food truck collective,
Food truck collective. How did that really start? Like, what did you always... Obviously, you didn't always do food truck. You did a smoothie food truck before that, right? And what were you doing before? Like, why did you start? What's the story? What's
the story? Okay, I'll try and compact this as I can. But I came to New Zealand in 2011. I'm originally from England. I came here on a gap year with my partner, who's now my husband. We thought it would be a year, and I had a job at a corporate role, and it just kind of extended a year and another year and another year. We got married, I had a baby, and I was on mat leave, and I kind of instantly always knew that I wanted to start my own business in some capacity. I studied business at high school and wrote business plans, and so I was familiar with what's needed to kind of facilitate the start of a business in terms of what thinking needed to be. So studying through high school, I kind of knew kind of what was involved with starting a business, writing a business plan. But I knew...
It's very different though, right?
What's
what
that?
They teach you in uni and high school is very different from real life.
Oh, everything's different to real life from what they teach you at school.
Yeah.
But they can give you the principles of what you kind of need to consider, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Kind of finding your niche and doing the numbers, what have you. So that kind of entrepreneurship kind of feeling of wanting to start something myself was always there. Anyways, fast track, being on mat leave, I was training, I was doing some running, and I saw Mr. Whippy parked at our local park, and at the time I was drinking lots of smoothies, hadn't started the business or anything of that idea yet. And
Mr. Whippy's is ice cream, right?
yeah, Mr. Whippy's is ice cream. So he gets to roam around in his truck, and he'll go to parks and beaches, and he'll serve ice cream. Which,
I was like, I think it's ice cream.
Yep, Mr. Whippy. And so I was inspired by his kind of model of having that flexibility of driving to wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And I thought I really wanted to create something like that myself. And I came home and thought I could replace ice creams with smoothies and try and look into this business idea of this kind of flexible working where, because as a new mum, I had new priorities. I didn't want to go back to an office 9 till 5. And so we kind of pursued the idea. We kind of looked into it. And as I mentioned, 7-8 years ago when I started, there wasn't many food trucks kind of operating in Auckland that I knew of. And I had a friend who had started just a year before, from Tim from Double Dutch. And so spoke to him and kind of validated the idea, thought, yeah, we could do this. And we kind of got the ball rolling, and we bought a food truck from China, which has its own complications and challenges.
So wait, there wasn't one in New Zealand that you could buy?
No, because it wasn't many on the
food trucks.
No.
Wow.
So
you're a trendsetter.
Well,
kind of.
Maybe. Never really signed that to myself, but maybe we were the first. You know, the kind of bubble-shaped trailers that you see everywhere now. I think I was one of the first ones in Auckland to have that one, that kind of shape. It's made out of fiberglass. It's a lot cheaper than this kind of food trucks that you drive as such. So it was a more cost-effective way of...
It must have been hard to get a food truck from China.
It was, yeah. I'll never forget when we had to go pick it up from,
You had to go pick it up?
Yeah, we had to, because it got it got shipped and came in a box, and we thought naively that we could just tow it home, but it hadn't been assembled. It was literally like the shell had, but the tow bar and the axle and all the wheels, nothing was done.
Oh my God.
So that was a huge learning curve.
So wait, I'm guessing you didn't do it all by yourself, did you?
What's that?
Did you have someone beside you doing it with you, or?
So my husband Lee was my cheerleader, and so he was there kind of supporting me through it. We were making the decisions together. I was more so driving it because it was kind of what I wanted to do, but he was kind of my great kind of person to lean on for advice and support. He'd started his own business, so he kind of had been in that space. But so we eventually got the trailer. We eventually kind of had building the brand and the marketing behind the scenes as I kind of as soon as I committed to it, we kind of built the profile, claimed the name, and did the stuff behind the scenes that we could. I had a great friend who's a graphic designer, helped build kind of the look and feel of it, which was great. And eventually everything was working and we were ready to hit the road. And maybe a month or two beforehand, I had met Tim and he had said, do you want to help me? I'm looking to start running more food truck events, because in Auckland at the time there wasn't many that were regular, for one. Two, a lot of event companies were charging a lot of money to trade at, which can be a huge outgoing, especially, and a high risk when you're starting new onto the scene. When you've not traded before, you don't know how many units you're going to serve, like what waste, etc. So we wanted to create events that were a lot more regular and fairer to those who were trading. We did a commission model, so if the event went well for them, we did well. So it was more of a percentage versus a fixed cost. I started my food truck, but I also started running food truck events around the same sort of time.
Right.
Because we'd seen this other gap in the market of not having enough places to trade. So we found a solution where we could help our own businesses, but also many other food truck businesses kind of
And this
survive.
is where you did with Tim?
Yes, and then so the Food Truck Collective concept kind of started, and so that would have been 2017. And it was a labour of love for many years, as all kind of start-up businesses.
What year did you say it started?
So it started in 2017.
2017. Oh, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
7 years ago.
So coming up to September is 8 years. And we just constantly trialed and errored different things and grew and learned, and more people came onto the scene, more people appreciated what we were trying to do. We were trying to build not just an events business, but a community, because everyone wants to feel part of something.
Yeah.
And running a business can be quite isolating.
It can be, especially if you're doing it all by yourself.
And so just having that kind of reassurance from other food trucks that I'm not alone. This isn't just hard for me, seems to be hard for everyone. And we kind of shared wins, we shared challenges, we tried to help make kind of the bottom line a little bit easier by finding group buyer discounts, and we kind of just were real advocates for wanting to help the food truck scene flourish. And more people who had access to our events were experiencing these amazing food trucks and the incredible people that were running them. And it kind of just grew into something incredible that I'm extremely proud of.
And now you have about 100 food trucks.
Yeah.
And also because you kind of have to pick now because you don't want to.
Yeah, we kind of look for head turners. We kind of look people that have got the kind of great food, great presentation, but also the people, whether they feel invested into the community that we've created, rather than we want people in our community who don't feel like they're competing against one another, but lifting each other up instead.
So now that you have so many food trucks in the Food Truck Collective business, what do you think is still missing? Or there's a demand for this kind of food or this kind of food truck, which actually is not there right now.
Well, there's not as many Indian food trucks, which is a shame because I love Indian food.
It's crazy because I see so many. I know and to be very honest, I'm very new to Auckland and I don't know that many places, Indian places, or that many Indian food, but Sandringham is full. Is the hub, and there's more places that are the hub of Indian food, but there's so many food trucks, and I think maybe they don't know about you. Maybe. Well,
hopefully not, but we really just embrace kind of anyone starting a food truck business to really come to our events and see the kind of brand kind of cohesiveness that we've got in terms of the quality of the food, the presentation, what have you. And if they feel like they could slot in beautifully, then it'd be a great addition to add, because the food trucks that we work with as well are quite gourmet in the sense of it's quality food, quality ingredients, presentation, and there's different kind of, because you want to kind of feel like you're in a restaurant but you're not. That's the kind of experience that we want to create. And there's other food businesses which are delicious and can serve most incredible food, but they're more kind of suited to the kind of hustle and bustle of the night markets kind of feel. And it's depending on whether they're doing it part-time or full-time, or there's lots of variations, but we kind of embrace delicious food, full stop.
So say I am a food truck and I have just heard about you and I realized that, you have a spot and maybe I can sign up. I don't know, how does it work? Do I sign up with you?
No, so we have a waiting list.
Right.
Because as I mentioned, we're hitting our 100. And so we asked the food trucks to sign up to our waiting list. We asked them really to be trading for a year to really feel like they're committed into doing it. They'll hopefully have learned all the hard lessons that we all have to go through to kind of pursue the business. And so they can come to us and say, this is who I am, this is what I serve, this is where I've traded, this is the impact that I can make positively onto your events. And I really, I love people who get in touch and say, I want to join your events. But that's all they'll write. They won't give me any kind of context to who they are. They won't pique my interest as such. So kind of really sell the business to someone, to event organisers in general. You've got to really share how I'm going to make your event better by being there.
Do you reckon having a story, having your why, as Simon Sinek would say?
Why are
you doing what you're doing?
Give me some context. Let me get to know who you are. Yeah. Let me hear why you want to join our events. What inspired you to start your food truck? I love a story.
Same. I love a story. Many times and to many people, but I think I was reading this book. I think it's in Rich Dad Poor Dad maybe, but he says that no matter what trade you do, you could be a doctor, you could be a technologist, you could be an engineer, but if you are a good salesperson, no matter what trade you're doing, you will succeed in life. It's a skill, and no matter what you do, it's good to be a salesperson, a good salesperson, as you would need to sell eventually at some point. You go to a job, you do an interview, you're selling yourself. Yeah. So it's good to be a good salesperson. And that is when it comes to this. The food trucks are coming to you. They need to sell their business. They need to tell a good story. Absolutely true. So what was your why was?
Lifestyle. Yeah. My priorities had changed. I wanted something flexible. I wanted something that I could more or less have on my own terms. I was passionate about smoothies. Like it was not kind of cheap and cheerful smoothies. Like we were making really delicious, wholesome, nutritiously good smoothies that tasted and looked good. So, and at that time, smoothies were kind of all perceived to be green and yuck, and you had to drink them because you felt like you needed to be healthy. But the smoothies we made were really delicious, and they were all organic ingredients, which I was really passionate about. And there was a demand for them because there were sports events, there were going to events where kids were there, and rather than getting them a can of Coke, parents were buying a yummy smoothie which they demolished. And as a parent, I know how satisfying it is when you know when your kid has eaten something healthy or drank something healthy. So I felt that the demand there. And so, yeah.
Another food truck that you would have in mind that you'd be like, and other than Indian, is there anything else that you see that there's a demand of, or people ask you, they're like, oh, wish there was this?
We cover most bases at the minute. We hit all kind of the good spots of Italian, Spanish, or kind of American, British, lots. But there's not as many kind of traditional New Zealand trucks around, which is, I'm sure they're out there, but they haven't come across my path yet.
Or they haven't sold themselves well.
Exactly. Which I feel is a real kind of shame, considering we are in New Zealand. We get a lot of tourists that come to our events who are probably wanting to taste kind of local food, and I feel like there's a real opportunity there to thrive in that space.
Does anyone do the Maori-based kind of food? No.
There was a few that came and went, but not that we work with at the moment.
Oh, maybe that's another one.
There's a few tracks that try and theme, obviously, certain dishes around that, but owning that.
Having a kiwi burger.
Yeah.
But it's not really, like, that's not it.
Yeah.
There's more.
Especially coming up to Matariki and kind of like the peak tourism season, like it would be amazing to have more kind of local food.
Interesting. Funny, because you know my flatmate Katie. That's
yes.
how I know you, actually. But, but she's such good with giving ideas. Like
she's amazing.
I tell her so many times, like, you should have a business. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but she has so many ideas. And I've told her, and she's like, no, I just like helping people. I'm like, that is so sweet. You could do something of your own. But anyways, we're talking about this one time, and just jokingly, because fun flat, but we're joking and we're like, oh, how about like a Mexican and Indian fusion? How cool would that be?
Lots of flavors.
Yeah, because they're quite similar. You have coriander, you have cumin, and you have all these kind of zesty flavors that are quite similar. So how cool would that be if there was a fusion of Mexican and Indian? Like, I really don't want to say butter chicken tacos, because I feel like butter chicken has been like, but like a nice, concept, authentic butter chicken, not the sweet as butter chicken, but the really authentic butter chicken taco or a burrito with chicken tikka masala. I don't know.
See, that's a point of difference. That's something unique that you haven't heard before, which would be really attractive. Yeah,
that would be so cool. If I had the time and the money and everything, I would do it.
Okay, well,
maybe I should.
Keep that idea.
Maybe I shouldn't put it on video.
Maybe not. But then so many people have amazing ideas, and there's idea makers and there's doers.
Yeah, true.
There's like when some of the advice that I've shared before is like going back to that validation of your idea. You need to talk to people to gain insight, because nobody, even if you're worried about someone's going to steal my idea, well, if they do, that's bad on them. But really, at the end of the day, they won't do it with your personality, your drive, your ambition, your determination. They won't deliver it the way you in your mind. So don't be scared of sharing ideas, because you just never know. They might have something to contribute, or they might have something that they might even want to come on board and help you, because a lot of businesses can work solo, but they can thrive as a 2-piece or a 3-piece, or kind of working your strengths and weaknesses together can help a business succeed even more, because being a business owner, even if a solopreneur, you wear so many hats, and if you have certain strengths or certain weaknesses and you can bring someone on board who complement your weaknesses, then you could grow even bigger and stronger and collaboratively kind of grow into something incredible.
True. on that same note, why I'm like, with sharing my idea, like say I wanted to start a podcast, right? And I have my story and I know why I want to do it, because I don't know if I've told you this, but I've always wanted to have a business of my own. But I'm just not as big of a risk taker my dad is, and I really wish I was, but I am someone who needs to know everything, who has a lot of questions, and I want all of them answered, and then I get into something, right? So I had so many questions, and hence the podcast came up, because I was talking to people. I was going to farmers market and doing these things and asking people questions. I'm like, oh, how did you start? And I was like, while I'm learning all of these things, and it is like doing this podcast, it's so insightful. It's educational curve, and I love it. But I was like, while I'm doing it, maybe there are other people who would want to know these stories and have the same questions as I do, and it would be so cool to share it with them. And that's how the idea came. This is my story, and this is my why I started podcast. But the podcast is becoming this thing where every second person is doing it, and it's more. And it's like literally, I've had chats with a few people, and in my knowledge, I haven't told a lot of people right now that I'm doing a podcast, unless I need to. And I have 2 people already who actually are starting a podcast, and it's booming.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, have I gotten into this thing a bit late? Because I'm like, so many people want to do it. Like, how am I going to compete? These people have followings. These people have like so much name already, which I don't. I'm like, how do I compete with all these kind of things?
Don't worry about them.
True.
Don't worry. Just do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you're passionate about it.
Yeah.
And just like go forth.
True.
Just do, and just be you. Authentically you, because they're not you.
That is true. That is true.
And they might have a completely different idea to their podcast, and they might have a completely different audience, but then they might have overlapping audiences. Like maybe you listen to more than one podcast.
Yeah, I do. I definitely do.
So
do you listen to podcasts?
I do.
What kind of podcast?
I love Girls That Invest.
Oh yeah,
I'm a massive fan.
It is good.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I love I really enjoy it, and I've really enjoyed watching her journey of starting out. I remember listening to her podcast during lockdown, and then we bought the book. I bumped into her into the shop when I was actually buying it, got her to sign it, and it's just amazing to see her growth. And yeah, big fan.
It's incredible. The fact it came from New Zealand and it's gone massive. Yeah,
and it's such a simple concept as well.
Like it is so simple. I love the name. The name is so basic and so simple, but it's easy. Yeah, that's what you remember it. If it was like some extra hard in vocabulary word, I would probably forget. But it's so easy.
Yeah, keep it simple.
And you're like, yeah, keep it simple. Yeah.
But I think it's amazing what you're doing. So just keep going.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Cool. So moving on, I want to know more about the course. More about, because have you started it?
It's been something I've been talking about, I think, for the last 4 years, and I finally have got maybe 85% of it done. I've been saying every month that I'll finish it this month, but I have to finish it this month because I've been saying that so long. But again, I think touching on your point, like that self-doubt and imposter syndrome is totally normal for anything or anybody starting something that is new or they haven't done it before, because it's that unknown. And I have experienced that myself. And so I just need to get it out there. I've got a website. I launched the online learning about a year ago. I bought the domain, I built the website. I said the course was coming soon, but in the meantime I did one-on-one Zoom coaching. So I kind of built up a bit of a following in that space. And so I have a wait list. I'm seeing what the traffic's like going onto my website, and it's validating the idea more and more and more that there's obviously a demand for this educational piece that I'm curating. So I'm really excited to get it out there and into the world, and it won't be perfect the first time. I have to accept that, but I'll have to get it out there because you got to try, and then you'll learn, trial and error, improve, add more information, get feedback, and then hopefully it'll work out.
I definitely have faith in you. I think you have so much knowledge and so much experience, and if someone can learn it from you, couldn't be better.
Thank
And
you.
educating that's what I'm doing in a way.
Definitely.
And your knowledge grows by expanding it, by teaching other people. You learn a bit from them. When you will do it eventually, there will be some things that you learn from them. Yes, they're learning from you, but you'll learn things from them, and that's incredible. But what is your, like, who will be the person wanting to do the course? Like, people.
So who I'm trying to target. So I'm trying to target those people that are sitting on the fence like yourself with your Indian Mexican idea and thinking, okay, so they don't know where to start. And anything.
I'm the perfect.
Kind of, yeah, I think so.
So I should come to you after this
You
podcast.
can do, yeah.
Okay.
I'll have it ready at the end of the month. It's designed for those who have this idea. They're not sure where to start. They're overwhelmed by all the things that they might have to do or consider, and it simplifies. I've broken it up into chapters of kind of key pillars of information around validating your idea, writing your business plan, finances that you're going to have to consider, the kind of brand you need to build, the community that you need to build, all these kind of key elements that create something, a business, that I feel are essential.
Cool. Does that mean they get a little road to the food truck collective?
No, so I have to keep that separate.
Okay.
But I want them to feel like when they're ready to start the food truck collective, they have the knowledge and experience of what is expected to be part of the food truck collective.
Interesting. Cool.
Because there's so much involved. Can't just roll up one day and think that you've got it sussed. You've got to nail your menu and think about finding the right people, staffing. I wrote an ebook maybe 5-6 years ago because I had recognized the opportunity to kind of help others, and it literally just scratched the surface because there is so much that you need to consider, because a lot of people I've seen come onto the scene, invest a lot of money, and it hasn't worked. And they maybe not have done their homework, they maybe not have validated their idea, or maybe even really considered the impact that it can have on your lifestyle as well. Especially for those with a family. A lot of the work for food trucks is evenings and weekends, where if you have a family, kids play soccer, kids do this, commitments, family life, it does impact them. So there's a lot of things to weigh up before kind of committing to it, which I feel like needs to be thought through more, because it's a big commitment.
It is. So the $1 million question here is...
Would I do it? No! No, that's a joke.
How does it work with the costing? Like, how much does the person have to pay, or how much do you charge?
How long's a piece of string? That's the most common question I get. How much is it going to cost me to start a food truck?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of food truck do you want to start?
Okay, it's a simpler question. How much does it cost to do the course?
Oh, the course, I haven't defined it. It's 8 chapters. There's resources, there's kind of tips and trades. You get access to me to flick me through a question if you have. I want it to be not out of this world, but I don't want it, I feel like my knowledge is of value. Because a lot of people who are still questioning the idea, I don't want it to be a big upfront investment. I want the information to be available to get, and you can do it in your own time, and you don't have to do it in a week. You could do it over 6 months, and I just want to make it easier for people.
Cool. And how does it work? As in, like, is it online? Is
online?
Online.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So it will be available in New Zealand or
everywhere?
Everywhere.
Yeah, I assume so.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And then also another question I had, just curious, Food Truck Collective, New Zealand, is only in Auckland, or is it only in Auckland?
Because this is where we know, this is our home ground, this is our connections, community, relationships that we've built. Yeah.
Do you plan to take it further?
No. Because why rock the boat? We've got something really cool here. We're really proud of it. We want a life still.
What are your plans for growth, or like what are your plans, like like you've achieved this, now you have like so many food trucks, you've got everything going, is there like a next, something that you want to do next, and something you're like, oh, this is my next step?
I think just to continue the building of the community and supporting them, because it's hard at the minute. The economy there's just been so many kind of hurdles for every business.
True.
Over the last 4 or 5 years. We had the global pandemic. We had, I don't know why I'm smiling when I say that because that was horrible. Global pandemic impacted business. We've got the wettest summer on record last year. We host a lot of our events on grass, and we had a lot of trucks stuck in the mud, which was pretty traumatizing.
Oh my God.
People obviously weren't coming out because it was raining.
True.
So sales were down, we weren't overly motivated last summer. It was our first summer really back after COVID, so we were all kind of hoping that it would succeed. And it still ticked over well, and we're so grateful for the people that did come and support us all. And then this summer, the economy, recession, people has less money to spend, less money to go out and do things, has impacted a lot of things. So again, going back to the point of kind of the importance of considering when you start a business, you need to really look at the environment that you're in. What's going on right now? Do people have money? Are people going out? Are people traveling overseas? Is your product something that people desire and need in their life? Is it a staple? Like, is it something that people are going to go out and spend their hard-earned money on?
That's true. So the aim is to grow I mean, I guess you're doing really well, the business is doing great, but it's still not there that you're like, oh, we can just like, you know, just let it be and it'll just be fine. And you're still growing, you're still...
Yeah. The business will always need to be hands-on. And the people that are in it are so important to help it grow. It's not just Tim and I or our staff, it's all the food trucks. Like, we couldn't do what we do without them.
True.
There are.
And my flatmate is one of them.
Obviously, Katie. Where would we be without Katie?
Incredible. Yeah. I wish she was here. I told her you were coming, and she's like, oh, I can't be there because she has to go to work, but it's okay.
No. But yeah, in summary, it's been a roller coaster. Every business is not perfect. Every business has challenges. Every business will go through hard times and great times. But that's the journey of running a business. That's the risk you take as being an entrepreneur. Something that I've learned, and I wouldn't change a thing. I really wouldn't, because I wouldn't be the person sitting here in front of you today. As cheesy as that sounds.
Oh, that is cute.
Because it makes you who you are. It makes you stronger. Awesome. Running a business, you'll learn so much about yourself as well. What you're capable of, what your strengths, what your weaknesses are.
Working with people, leading is really hard. It's a learning curve.
And you will never, ever please everybody. True. I'm a massive people pleaser. Massive. And that has been one of my biggest lessons. You'll never please. We'll always have someone whinging or complaining about something, even though we've gone above and beyond to do something. But that's okay. And you know you've done your best. So nobody's perfect.
That's a good takeaway. That is a good takeaway. Is there any last thought or any advice you would want to give people who are starting a food truck? Food
truck, any business really, is just believing in yourself and really thinking deep down, like, can I do this? And if you've kind of got that nudge, like, yeah, I want to give it a go, give it a go. Because life's too short. I know that's deep, but it really is. You want to look back when you're older and think, oh yeah, I tried that. Okay, it worked, it didn't work, but it made me who I am.
But you learn.
Totally.
Like, things will not always work, but it's okay.
And you'll meet some incredible people along the way. Yeah. Look, we're sitting here.
I know, that is so cool. Okay. So we had Hannah last time, right? And she's from Deer Community today. I told you about Deer Community, right? And I finished the podcast and I had done 2 that day. So after doing, she was the second one. So when I did that, I I ended the podcast and I was like, oh my God, like I do not care how many views this gets. Like the journey, the information that I'm gaining and how much I'm learning is just priceless.
Yep.
It does not matter. I'm probably not going to earn a lot of money from this, but it really does not matter to me. It's great. Just
It's a passion,
doing this
and
is great.
if it lights you up, then you need more of that in your life. People need joy and excitement and happiness. There's a lot of grown-up stuff that we have to deal with, like bills and supermarket and responsibilities and stuff, but you need to really foster that joy.
Yeah, true. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so
My pleasure.
much. It has been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
So much to learn from. To be honest, I'd be like, maybe we should have you on. I feel like we didn't cover everything. There's so much more.
Honestly, you could sit here for hours.
I could. But you never know. Maybe in a few years' time you would have another business going, which is the course that you're doing.
Yeah.
So we could next time talk about that and how that has grown and how that has
There's so many niches that you could go into. There's so many niches in business, but kind of trying to, not master, but trying to kind of nail as much as you can, and like kind of getting help. It's okay to ask for help as well, and kind of making sure people understand that you don't have to do it always on your own.
True. Sometimes it's hard to know where to go, who to go to ask for help. Especially being in Auckland, I feel it's really hard. Everyone's busy, right? And everything is far away. Like when I lived in Dunedin, asking for help was easier.
Yeah.
There were more resources, there were more friends who were closer to you, they had more time. Being in Auckland, I realized that I'm not saying I don't have friends or I don't have people who support me. I have family here, but everything is too busy. Everyone is so, maybe because I come from, that side. I've seen that side. This seems a bit harder. And maybe if you're in New Zealand, you go to, say, US or UK, you'd be like, oh my God, life is even more busier and no one has time for anyone else.
Well, it's just carving that time out and finding your tribe. And Dear Community sound like they're doing an incredible job.
They are
helping people find their tribes.
They do an amazing job. The reason I joined them was for that. Like I was just a person who went to their event, and I went to 3 events, and it was beautiful how they had a purpose. They were bringing people together. They don't really focus on their business as a mental health support, but I personally think that they are, in a way, helping girls, helping women who might feel lonely or they don't have anyone to talk to. For me, I'm an extrovert, and if I don't have people around me, I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who can just be around books. So that was, even though I'm not going to make lifetime relationships or connections, but I might. Even if I don't, it's okay. I love being around people. I love talking to people. People think I'm crazy for just going to the farmer's market by myself and just talking to people. Because I'm like, I love going by. I would go with other people, but I love going by myself.
Yeah, that's good.
I get to talk to such incredible people. Every stall has a story, and I love it. I absolutely love it. They came from somewhere, or they started because of this reason. And a lot of people started in COVID. So many businesses.
Because they had time to stop and think.
Yeah, so many businesses started in COVID. I think it was a life-changing time for a lot of companies, a lot of people. But
Yeah. Well, I feel like you have found your calling, telling stories, getting inspiration from others, and kind of helping kind of share it with so many more people. Because everyone needs a little bit of inspiration. Sorry. Yeah.
But thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And I'm very excited for you as well.
Yay,
it's the beginning of your journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I really enjoyed this conversation, and if you're still here, you have too. So do not forget to subscribe to our channel, Supriya Sally, and I'll see you next time. Just a little disclaimer, the information provided in the podcast is for general educational purposes only. Guests are not experts but share personal experiences, and information is provided in good faith. The podcast team is not liable for any action taken based on the information provided.